Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have my good friend Daniel Raphael back with me on the show for the first time in 5 years. Daniel is a global meditation teacher and high-impact coach that advises Fortune 500 founders and high-impact leaders, as well as thousands of students in his Dreamporting Academy. And I'm actually here with him at his home in Austin, Texas at the moment. Hello, Daniel. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
It's an honor. So good to be here again.
Yeah, we were just looking, and those of you who've been P-heads for a long time, you probably remember Daniel is the real-life wizard from episode 306 and 539. But yeah, that's going back to 2016 and 2017, and it's just, you know, when you're dealing with time and space, and then you realize how quickly it moves, you know, sometimes it's like, it doesn't seem like it's been 5-6 years since we've recorded, and here we are, and we've both done so much since then. So
yeah, to me it feels like a different lifetime, actually.
Right. I mean, in a sense it is. Like, that person is gone. Those people that did that podcast together, they're no more. We're like reflections of them in some way, but it's a different version, different iteration of ourselves, right? So what I'd like to do, if you would, just give a quick sort of, well, hold on. Before I want to get your backstory just a little bit. Now, you can go into detail in it on those older episodes, so you people can go back and check that out. But just like a high level of your backstory. But before that, I want to ask you my cliche opener that I don't know if I was asking back then. Last few years, my cliche opener is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
My passion right now is to create animation to illustrate the laws of the universe, the codes of reality, so that everyone can really get them and use them to make a more beautiful world.
Yeah, I like that. I like create animation. Oh, and by the way, as I mentioned, I'm traveling currently with Daniel here in his home, and so my mic probably sounds a little different. That's why, not at my home studio, but yeah. So why don't you, Daniel, go ahead and give just high level, you know, whatever feels relevant to share regarding your backstory and how you ended up on the path of, you know, traveling the world for over a decade, studying with some of the like most incredible, you know, healers and shamans and luminaries and
totally
doing the work that you do.
Well, when I was 4 years old, I already had a lot of special gifts, supernatural, some might say, and I was giving therapy to my preschool teachers and was able to psychically give information to, you know, a bunch of people and move stuff with my mind several times and all that jazz. So, you know, essentially moving from there a few years later, I started shutting down. I started becoming autistic. I started getting super depressed and social anxiety and dissociation, and ended up becoming a zombie. This just a shell of a human being. With all the toxins and, you know, societal programming, unfortunately, that's on this planet, that's now shifting. But leave it to say, I was a mess, and I was put on all these meds, psychiatrists, psychologists, and just got worse and worse. And then when I was 20, I had a dream. I woke up from a dream that said, if you go to this place at this time, your life will change forever. And it was a festival. And despite my greatest fears, I decided to go. and that's when I received my first energy healing.
Was
And
that LIB by chance, Lightning in a Bottle? Or
that was a great one too, but it was Outside Lands in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
I met an energy healer there, which I didn't even know what that was at the time.
Wow.
So that really gave me my first adult spiritual experience, which then led me on a quest for 13 years around the world. And that's when I was in the Amazon. I lived with an African shaman and masters from Asia and all over the place to heal myself and learn and train. And at first, I just wanted to become normal, whatever that meant. I just wanted to get out of the pain. But what happened was that my abilities came back in a lot of ways and gifts, which we all have. And I started sharing them with other people. And it started with just donation, putting it on Craigslist. Hey, does anyone need help?
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I was doing.
Wow.
So then, being flown around the world by royalty, by billionaires, by all sorts of people. And now the point is to share that with the world, to share not just what I learned from spiritual masters, but also from the top billionaires, the good ones that are, have a good heart actually.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be too many of those, but there are a few, which is comforting. And they taught me about manifestation. They taught me about so much as well. And there's just so much information that I have that I'm so excited to share, because everyone deserves to have this information and to co-create a more beautiful world from aligning with the universe, from aligning how reality actually works and implementing it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such an inspiring journey. And I know so many people out there. I mean, I think of my own family member, my nephew, who's diagnosed with Asperger's. And it's like he's told, that it always drives, I think of my brother because it drives him crazy. He's been told like, oh, well, Evan has, this kind of handicap. He has this, it's kind of referred even in the family, not unintentionally, like my mom or my sister, who are like so catered to him and so loving. And it's like kind of programming like, oh, there's something wrong. You're at a disability in a sense. And we got
Right.
Evan's condition. And it's like, let's not program them to think that they're somehow less. It's like Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll think it's stupid its whole life.
Right, exactly.
And it's that sort of thing. And what's interesting now my nephew is like 21, I believe he's 21, and he just, his whole life, as can often happen with people with autism or Asperger's or whatever, can fixate on certain things. And his thing that he's been most like really into gems and rocks and, crystals and his whole life. And he just got into, in school has always been a challenge for him. Well, he just got into gym school. Like, for a long time, it was a story of, oh man, I'm not going to amount to much because of my handicap. And he's like the sweetest, most pure, kind soul I've ever met. And especially as he's, come into adulthood and young adulthood, and he just got into a gym school, and he's down at school now for a few weeks. And he, first few weeks, he's like teacher's pet. He's acing everything. It's like, because he's in his zone of genius. So here's the kid who was like, school was really challenging for. Now he is, in the right school, doing the thing that is really aligned with who and what he is, and he's just flourishing.
Totally.
And so it's so just inspiring to see. And I know that's one of the things that we're going to talk about is alignment and, coming into alignment with yourself. And
I love that story though, because it illustrates the point, which is, for me, I thought it was my handicap for so many years of emotions, connecting with people. I feel like I could barely do it. I had no deep connections for most of my life. Couldn't even feel love. But a lot of it was, besides programming toxins that I had to detox out of me, a lot of it was that I was just extremely intuitive and empathic, and I just wasn't trained on how to handle that. And a lot of people just didn't believe it was real. So I stopped believing it was real. So it just came as all these crazy thoughts and feelings I was overwhelmed with, flooded most of the day, especially when I was around people and didn't know how to distinguish them from my own and how to handle them. And now it's, a superpower that I use and I train people to use, which is such a beautiful gift. So sensitivity, a lot of people say, oh, I'm too sensitive. But it's really, the sensitivity is the greatest gift. Yeah. It's just the increased awareness and expanded consciousness. And when we know how to use it and are aligned within the right way, it's absolutely incredible. And I wouldn't have it any other way now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's go a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole and, what you view as, the universal laws and how one can sort of, and I have an idea. Obviously, I know our thoughts on these things are aligned, and it's going to align a lot with all the things we talk about on the show. But what I love about doing this is everyone has sort of their own unique way of like framing it or speaking to it or about it. It's like kind of, let's point at the thing in a way that sometimes people will say it in a certain way where it's like, oh, wow, it just lands, and that's something that you're really good at. Is just having a way of like framing these universal laws and helping people, of course, to come into alignment. So maybe you could just riff a little bit on that.
I would love to. They're written about for thousands of years. They span from different continents, religions, but really, when you get down to it, they're all really the same.
Yeah.
And our thoughts create reality. And is one of them, obviously. And, one of my favorite ones that most people are learning still is about staying neutral, staying equanimous, the law of non-reaction. So essentially, if someone, you feel like is taking advantage of you and you get upset and then you complain about it, and then it's like, oh, this keeps happening, we're actually creating more karma. We're creating more energy, feeding that. And it's going to keep happening because life is a school. So it's not as much what's happening in the external world, but it's about what is it triggering in you? What is it helping you? Is it to stand up for yourself? Is it to, learn to let go and forgive, not take things personally? So the environment is responsive to your perspectives and what you came in here to learn. And so when we, it's not about letting someone take advantage of you, but it's about, staying centered and not taking it personally and looking at the lessons, getting curious, and then shifting your boundaries, shifting your agreements with yourself and reality. And then you transcend the lesson. Yeah. So it's always just staying centered. It's definitely feel your feelings and lean into them. Yet it's when you become non-reactive and you learn to respond from a conscious place, then you can transcend the lessons very fast and all these negative, difficult patterns, and life becomes a lot easier. Yeah. And then you can manifest a lot faster. Yeah. Because you're not getting in your own way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably been my biggest obstacle, and I'm sure for a lot of people, is learning to respond and not react. As someone who's pretty fiery and has a lot of energy, it's like, man, I've spent so many times in my life just like something comes at me that's unjust or unfair or I don't like, or here's why it's wrong and here's why I'm right and how dare you, like what? That's not, and and you said it well, I think, is like, look, it's not about who's right and wrong. Reframe it and understand you're in a school and you're going to be thrown, it's like if you think of like the Matrix, the first Matrix, when he goes in to train. Totally. And it's like, okay, all of a sudden all the swords or guns or things appear. It's like, okay. And he's with Morpheus, and Morpheus is like, okay, let's pull this off the wall, and I'm going to throw this sword at you or whatever, or throw this dagger at you. It's like, no, it's not like, hey, you shouldn't do that. That's wrong. It's like, no, that's coming at you to train you in this moment. Right. So let's frame it in a way that you are in that same simulator in a sense, and this thing coming at you, it's not about the rightness or wrongness of what's coming at you. It's about your ability to deal with what's coming at you. And it's actually coming at you to make you stronger, better, wiser, faster.
Exactly. It's an initiation. Yeah. And that's another point is, like let's say you have too much fire element. The more you balance the elements, the more you balance your masculine and feminine side, which we all have, and the more aligned we are with the universe. So it could be things like diet, like in Ayurveda, a lot of people avoid garlic and onions because it has the fire element, and it, calms your temperament so you can ascend to higher planes of consciousness, or just too much spicy food. It could be, supplementation. It could be just strengthening other elements. And that goes not just for your personality, even for your superpowers, from your psychic abilities, because every psychic ability, faculty has a different element. So clairsentience, which is our ability to feel energy and vibration, it's the water element. clairvoyance is the fire element, which is fire makes light. So we can get visions and visualize clearer. Clairaudience is the air element, for example. So the more we balance the elements and the different parts of ourselves, the more we come online, the more we are able to operate as the true potential of who we really are.
Yeah, I like that. I've never really heard those framed as those gifts and how they tie into the different elements. That's really interesting. It's like it's just the more you peel back the onion, the more you see how it's all like reflections of something else. And that's just another great example. So let's talk. I know one of the things that you work a lot on is guiding people to their subconscious beliefs. Finding and dissolving subconscious beliefs. And I know a lot of people. It's like they have these subconscious beliefs that were programmed early on. I remember having I think it was Dr. Bruce Lipton on the show years ago, and him talking about like, look, you can work on yourself all day, every day, but if you're not getting to those subconscious layers and reprogramming or releasing the things that are holding you back, it's like it's sort of working on the effect and not the cause. It's like I'm going to try and fix the paint job on the car, but the engine's screwed up. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that, and so how subconscious beliefs affect us, how we can identify those that need to be reprogrammed and dissolve and reprogram.
Totally. Well, the subconscious deals a lot with symbols and visuals and memories. So when I was living with an African shaman, he would guide me on these journeys where I would go back to a memory in my childhood, speak to my inner self, speak to my soul, reconnect, open this gateway, right? And so I learned how to deal with this video game, which is the subconscious.
Yeah.
And so there's so many tools and so many traditions. There's even special frequencies like rays of light, like the ultraviolet ray. It's a frequency that will reveal hidden blocks. So I teach people how to use that in my school, and it's super easy. But there's many ways to just command your subconscious. You can actually just command it to reveal to you a hidden block right away. And it has to do that because it works with a set of rules like the Matrix. And once you know the rules, you can navigate that space quite easily. And so part of it is using your imagination, right? Part of it is a science, part of it is an art, I would say. And the more you free your imagination, the more you can open any door, the more you can really recode yourself and thus reality instantly and easily. And that's what I love teaching, because that's really the key for anything else, because we can only manifest, we can only receive love, we can only have as much happiness and joy as we allow ourselves to. And a lot of it's based off our subconscious. It's a lot of the hidden software inside of us, and it's tied to our physical body, and it's tied to our genetics. So not only programming from this lifetime, but it could be, a dozen generations back, something that happened in your lineage. And so it's important to, like you said, not just work on the conscious, because we're not just manifesting from our conscious mind. Most of what we're manifesting is from our subconscious and the way we frame things subconsciously. So if we frame starting a business as climbing, a huge mountain like the Himalayas, and that we're this victim, then you're creating a whole script. You're going to manifest all these challenges and blocks and even things like betrayal, because you still have attachments to those frequencies, and you're emanating them out subconsciously, and you're training people how to treat you based off your magnetic field, which is it's like a screensaver, continually putting these programs that you don't even want.
Yeah.
And so it's about really prioritizing your subconscious and reprogramming it as deeply as possible and as fast as possible, especially if you're ready to launch into the next quantum leap of your life, whatever that is, with relationships, with love, with your mission. So I take people through journeys one-on-one, and especially in big groups, at retreats and online, to reveal their deepest subconscious beliefs and completely transform them in just a few minutes, which I love. So you can do it really fast, the whole process, which I love teaching, and to empower people, because it's your reality, and it's just about really letting go of the limitations and knowing how to do it, and then boom, it happens. And the key really that I found is surrendering to divine consciousness, or you can call it your super conscious mind. But it's when you everything's really made up of agreements. So when you allow yourself to be aware of and love whatever is coming up for you, and then give it up to the divine consciousness, the divine consciousness can do anything instantly. It's limitless. And because of the law of free will, it's another law, it literally can't do much unless you give it permission, right? Which you're really giving yourself permission. So it's like flying an airplane. When you align these, balance the wings and have the right velocity, then you can fly and teleport and do all sorts of things. It's just about aligning with those universal laws within yourself. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I love that. What comes to mind is, I wrote a book a year ago, The Golden Key. And the original, when the idea kind of came to me in a dream of what I would do with the book and how I would put it out there in kind of a unique way, by allowing people to gift it, etc. I went to see, has anyone used this name? And there's a guy named Emmett Fox who wrote a short essay called The Golden Key, like in the 1930s. And what you just said reminded me of his golden key, which is, what he basically says is, whenever you're having any hardship, facing any hardship, anything challenging in your life, focus on God. Focus on bringing your energy and awareness to, what source is and its ability to, and then by tuning into that frequency, it's sort of like what I think you were just saying. Is like you and I have done some guided work together here while I've been visiting. It's like bringing whatever the issue is to source. Source is able to absorb, transmute. It wants to take it on. That's it's like, it's kind of like handing off. It's like the little kid who hands the jar of peanut butter to dad to unscrew it because it's really easy for dad, and the kid's like over there like working hard on it. And so that's what I really thought of when we were doing our work together here, and also with what you just said. It's like, focus and tune in to all the things that source is, and allow it to come in and be a part of the solution and transmutation of the challenge that you're facing.
Exactly. Another way of seeing it is we have protection mechanisms. It's overcompensations when our dad, got mad at us for speaking our truth, and then we filter our truth now and can't be fully expressed. So it's revealing the root of that. We want to pull it out from the root, and fear is really just an illusion. So it's learning how to face your fear in this video game. And once you really face it and move through it and give it up, you can completely transform it instantly. Yeah. And so it's just learning how to play the video game, really. And I wish I had known these rules so many years ago, because I spent, over a decade running around blind, just trying so many things, right? Like chipping away at things, but the roots were still there, and they were still running so much of my life. Yeah. And so it was really, I had to, almost die a few times, to learn the hard way sometimes, to humble yourself, to really surrender to the divine. Yeah. And that's the ultimate key. You literally can't make it through without that, because it's not about just healing. It's not about just fixing something. Everything is perfect, and it's designed to initiate you to a liberated life, to a liberated consciousness. And so it's about moving through these initiations and facing them and leaning in, instead of trying to run away or numb yourself from feeling or bypassing it. The obstacle is the way, right?
Right. It's, you mentioned fear, and I always think of FEAR can be either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And it's like, which one is it going to be? Yeah. And, it brings me some bit of comfort when you think about fears, and all of us needing to sort of face and move through our fears to become our greatest and grandest self. And when you start thinking about fears as really just a projection of yourself, right? It's just like your own shadow, in a sense, reflecting back to you. There is really no out there anything to fear. It's all just a part of you. And it always comes to mind Jonah, who was on one of the founders of Lucidity, who was on this podcast a long time ago, and I remember him talking about his repeated dream of like this like werewolf looking creature drooling and like coming at him in his dreams. And, he has lucid dreams pretty much every night, hence his festival Lucidity. And this intense dream of this werewolf type creature coming at him over and, and he'd run in the dream and like, come out of it. And then one time he just stayed in it and just like embraced this creature as it came to him. And then they embrace, and it's like, they start dancing, and it's like drooling on his shoulder, and like, and it's just like, it's just waiting. It's really, what's the answer there is like bringing love to, love transmutes everything, right?
That's it, because everything is self. So you can see fear or whatever challenges in your life right now as a shadow, a part of yourself that's just calling in more light to get you to the next level.
Right.
So the faster you really trust and face it and breathe and use those tools, the more you can transcend it, the more power you have, the more energy you have.
Yeah.
And that leads to a whole new level of manifestation.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I know you and I have had some really cool conversations about seeing things physically manifested, even, so, or just rapid manifestation, pinpoint manifestation in general. I'd love to hear you share some of that. Yeah.
I would love to. Well, manifestation is just a bonus for being in alignment. It's just reflecting to you different areas where you're in alignment and helping you have deeper faith. So I see it as a game like that, and not the ultimate goal, which is liberation, which is just returning to your true nature, and being love and spreading that to everyone else. That's why we're here. And I was experimenting with manifestation for many years, and have been able to, pinpoint manifestation, to manifest even, the hardest to reach people or technologies, things that are just so out there, things I've seen in movies. There's like, I know this is real. I want to actually find this. Mm-hmm. And I have. And so I learned how to balance the different universal laws in order to manifest. I also trained with several masters. One of them was an elderly woman that could literally materialize things physically.
Wow.
And so the first lesson she taught me, which is similar to the law of non-reaction, the law of non-action, which is staying at 12 o'clock. So if you imagine a clock, and the 12 o'clock is just the neutral spot, it's about staying centered and not letting that dial go to the left or the right. So if someone's yelling at you, or even if you want something really bad, again, it's not about repressing your feelings. You can feel everything. It's embrace your feelings, but you can still stay centered. Mm-hmm. You can still stay neutral.
Yep.
And not get caught up in the external dream.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we become the director instead of the hero, which we think is the highest, but the hero is still playing in a game and has a role.
Yeah.
We're trying to save people, instead of going to a deeper level of awareness and realizing it's all in a perfection, and you're not this limited character, right, that has to prove anything. So when we do that, you can start pulling through more of reality through you, because you're not creating karma. Mm-hmm. You're not leaning in and, like Buddha says, the aversion or the desire. It's the attachment to those that lead to suffering and that take you out of consciousness. So I spent a year just on that one lesson and just practicing that. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect, of course, on that yet. But for more and more times I've been able to do that, I've been able to manifest so much more, and my consciousness has truly expanded, because I was able to just accept and see that it's all perfect. It's all the lessons. And, if things get out of your life, there's higher level things that want to come in. Yeah. The universe is self-organizing itself and being perfectly responsive to your perspective, to your beliefs, to your vibration. And so it's always just staying within and just staying curious as to that, because you start really surrendering deeper to the perfection of life, which is the ultimate gift. It's the ultimate school for our souls. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of Yogananda's book, his biography of his life. I don't know if you've ever
Autobiography
read
of
this.
Yogi. Yeah, it's incredible.
And there's a story in there of like an amulet or something that was physically manifested that he carried and had for a long time. I don't know if you remember that or read the whole book, but it's a really wild concept to think about. something. I mean, in yes and no, because really everything that we look at, in a sense, it started, every invention, every item, a car, the chair that we're sitting in, it started non-physically in someone's mind, right?
Totally.
And so, and then manifested itself physically ultimately. Now, what you're talking about is shortening the gap between those two things, right?
Right.
And in the case of someone like, all of a sudden, here's an amulet in my hand, or this woman that you were talking about, you had said that with her, it was a lot of like edible items that she would create.
Yeah, I mean, she had giant jewels and diamonds, but she also had all these magical powders and liquids and even honey. And when I was given a spoon of this materialized honey, she basically knows these mantras is one of the ways. Sometimes it just appears out of nowhere, and sometimes she says mantras, and a few hours later it goes back to this spot, and this jar is filled with honey or who knows what. And literally, the moment it touched my lips, it was like the craziest DMT experience of my life. For 10 minutes, I started moving and just like my spine straightened immediately, and I was making these interesting sounds, and it was like a million little sparkles just popping in my body and activating me and raising my vibration. So they could do amazing things.
Wow. That's wild.
And it's very interesting. She says it materializes from the 6th dimension. And through my travels, I've met several people like that could do different things. I studied with a Taoist master he literally touched my third eye, and it's pretty much exploded, and I started shaking, and it created all this heat in my body that opened some latent abilities in me years ago. And there's different ways to learn this. And again, it's really just about being in alignment, and it's also about opening your capacity to receive light. Right? It's kind of like voltage. You want to open up your channel, so you can get clear information, so that you can move energy, so that you can have the power to stay in a stable, awakened awareness where you're not getting tricked all the time and triggered to a lower state of consciousness, which is fight or flight, for example.
Yeah.
And so that's really the most important, is to stabilize your awareness. And it's just remembering that we are not this body. Our body is just one drop in the ocean of who we are.
Right.
We're really limitless. And as we keep that expanded awareness, it's so beautiful. It's like coming back home. And so I think a lifestyle is very important to be conducive of that. And that's why I love making magic potions, for instance, or charging things. We can architect frequencies so that the soap you're using keeps clearing your energy, twice a day. Even your toothpaste, you can charge the water you drink. I have soups and teas all the time. So you're constantly taking in these frequencies which stabilize and build momentum for you to stay in a great place. Because a lot of times people go to a retreat or take plant medicines and they have this huge awakening, but it's very temporary, and it starts closing back in. You're with the same people afterwards, or the same patterns. And so it's about how do we not only stay there, but keep growing and building momentum. Because once you build momentum, challenges can be very easy to move out of the way, or negative thoughts, and it's easier to manifest. You get in a flow state.
Yeah. And
so that's what the system that came through me, Dreamporting, is all about. It's a momentum builder, so that you just upward spiral continuously for your life. Beautiful. And that's what I'm most excited about sharing, because that's what I think people need right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's, what you were talking about a moment ago is like really being conscious with what you're consuming, or even, I've heard people talk about, I can't remember, it was I had a friend a while ago, and I remember him talking about that if you took and, put intentionally sending love frequency to food, for example, and then if you take a picture of it with like the photography, Kirlian photography, I think it's called, where you can see the aura, it would actually change how it looked. The color would change. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, is like, and I'm sort of hit or miss with this sometimes. But like last night before I ate, I spent a moment to like, okay, I'm going to send love and thanks and gratitude to the people who harvested the food, if it's an animal, thank you for, supporting my own growth at, the expense of your life in this case, and just sending love and and consciously charging whatever you're putting into your system before you do it. I think that's one of the simplest things that we can do, and just get ourselves in that habit. And then it's like we're literally using our own power of awareness to, to upgrade whatever we're taking into our system. I mean, I think if you take a bag of Cheetos, something that's probably considered not very good for you, and someone spends, you give it to a Taoist monk who spends 5 hours putting love vibrations into it, it's probably very healthy for you, So it's like interesting to think about a lot of these little, that's just such a little example of something that I think we can all train ourselves to do more of, like be more conscious before you consume anything, and focus your conscious awareness, love, gratitude, thanks, etc., into that item, and it's going to adjust and change the vibration instantly, right?
It's the Akasha principle, which states that everything is mind, it's an agreement. And so, I do this for 150 people on my Zoom classes often, where everyone just has a glass of water at the beginning of class, and I'll charge mine and just imagine that all those glasses are one. So after a few seconds, virtually everyone that is holding it and drinks it has a significant transformation. Some people start laughing hysterically, or just a lot of smiles, because they can feel a lot of shifts in their consciousness. So you can instantly program any substance by the law of Akasha. And just like, it could be people, like that's how distance energy healing works, right?
Right.
And it's not limited by number, it's not limited by space or time.
Yeah.
Because those are all man-made constructs.
Yeah.
And that's part of what awakened awareness is being beyond all those constructs.
Yeah.
And just remembering, hey, we're all one.
Yeah.
And the more we do that, the more positive shift we can have for the world.
Yeah.
And so that's the dance we're in right now, is forces that are trying to keep us in forgetfulness of our true power, which is oneness. And then forces that are helping us to take all these programs and release them and transcend and inspire us with our destinies and our missions, so that we can come back to oneness.
Yeah, you just spoke to something. Well, a couple things come to mind. One is, like I share in the Golden Key, the story, so many accounts of how sending, thoughts, energy to a plant, versus like they've done these experiments many times where they send, love to one plant and kind of hate to another, and then a month later, one is shriveled and the other one is flourishing.
Totally.
It's like, or Dr. Emoto's, work studying water and, sending intention to water and then taking pictures of it under a high-powered microscope. It's like we're all water, right? And so we're living plants, and just, we're human plants, right? And so it makes total sense that that this would work. And
imagine what your thoughts are doing to you then, right? If we're mostly water. Exactly. And so that's why it's crucial to raise our vibration and change our beliefs, which are creating thoughts, which are creating vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you said something else that I was going to speak to. Darn it. And it just kind of slipped my mind. It'll come back to me, I bet, here in a moment. But,
tell your subconscious to bring it back up.
Bring it back up.
But while it's coming, just to talk about manifestation again, how that's related, you can anchor in certain frequencies permanently into your being. And then the universe will have to reflect that back to you by the law of vibration.
Right.
And so, what I did a few months ago was I did a timeline shift, and I basically took in a whole new archetype, a set of frequencies into my body, and just sealed it in there. And it only took a few minutes. Yeah. And then within 3 days, I manifested my dream home on 104 acres here with all the little details, like I wanted the creek and the secret library room, like ridiculous things. I'm like, have you seen it? It's right there. There's a hidden staircase right there.
Oh, you haven't shown me that yet.
Wow. So, and then I got flown to Italy to be a wizard and lead a meditation for some of the most famous billionaires on the planet. And that was incredible. And all these other things happened in those 3 days. And I've done this several times. So you can actually download a new set of frequencies. And if you know how to stabilize them and just keep them in you, right? And part of it's still, that's why being in alignment is so cool, because once you align and do this inner work, the more in alignment you are, the easier and faster these things happen. It becomes effortless. And that's the new operating system that we're moving to is effortlessness, because we're just choosing, right, a color. It's like Photoshop, where, we're just dancing and things just happen. And to get to that state of effortlessness, it does take some effort, because we need our willpower sometimes to sit and meditate and journal and look at those things and breathe and feel it to heal it, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's just so worth it, because every time you do that, you have more access to the universe, to joy, and to so much beauty that's right here.
Yeah. And I'm curious. I know what I was going to say earlier. So we were talking. You're talking a little bit about like the dark forces. It came back to me right when it was my turn to jump in. Perfect. Thank you, subconscious. And I saw something recently, and it was talking about like dark forces and like dark energies or entities, and like sort of our condemning of them. And if you start thinking in a more holistic view of like, these are energies, let's call it, let's refer to it as like an entity that we consider dark, right? Which there's a lot of talk around things like that in this realm, this world, which, plant medicine and shamanic journeys, and is there entities that are, attached to you or whatever that is. And if you start thinking in terms, it's kind of like the werewolf earlier. It's like these energies are actually doing what they've been programmed to do. They're actually fulfilling their agreement with Source. Okay, I'm going to be the counterbalance to give Daniel something to overcome, let's say. And therefore, and then when you condemn them as bad, wrong, evil, whatever we're judging it, it's kind of like, it's not fully understanding. Whereas if it's like, oh no, this thing is actually doing its job perfectly. And not only is it doing its job perfectly, it's doing it, the underlying reason it's doing it is for a bigger narrative of love, right? Totally. It's happening for love. So it's like, instead of saying like, oh, this is an evil force or bad force, it's like, no, it's just doing what it came to do. It's like judging another example of this would be a bug that's destroying a plant or something like that. We could judge it as bad or wrong when really it's doing what it came to do.
Totally. And they speak about this in the Kabbalah and ancient texts throughout time. There's the human form and the absolute form. Like if there was a child near me that was being abused, I would do something about it. I would just be like, oh, that's perfect. Right. That's why we're here, is to
play your role in that
play
story.
Our role, right? And follow our hearts and have courage in this time. And we can still do that without judgment.
Yes.
We can do that while understanding that the play of dark and light is what has been created on this planet of perfect duality, so that we can grow and have free will and have lessons. Otherwise, none of that would be actually possible.
Right.
As souls, this isn't, a place for a finishing school for souls, let's say. And so when we see that, we don't have to fear the darkness anymore. And by taking the charge off of it, of that judgment, we no longer serve it.
Yeah.
And it's about no longer serving the darkness. And then the darkness actually serves you more, because here's an example that might sound weird, but let's say you have a car crash and you're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This was such a dark thing that happened, but it aligns you with your mission. All of a sudden you have to quit the job you hate in this corporation, and you stay in bed for 2 months, but then you start getting visions and you connect to your soul again, and you start becoming a motivational speaker. Right? So the darkness was called by Source, or the light, to give someone a wake-up call to align them with their mission, because they weren't aligned with their mission, which is why we're here. So the cool thing is the more we listen to the whispers of the universe, the more we follow our intuition, the less and less we get to learn in those challenging ways, and life becomes a lot easier. So sometimes we need those initiations to snap us out of things or realign us with what's more in alignment. And so it's about letting go of judgment and fear around that, and trusting that you're still held. It's still in this perfection, because life is beautiful and the universe is truly benevolent at the end of the day. And so all the horrible and dark things that are happening on the planet, it's an opportunity for us to step up and choose love and spread our mission. Yet at the end of the day, it's remembering also that everyone is a soul, this is not our only life, that we're truly not victims, but we're students. And it's an opportunity for us to serve each other and come back to oneness and make this world a more beautiful place by being in alignment and surrendering to the true desire of you, which is your soul's desire, which is the desire of the highest good, of divine consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, what an interesting concept that you just said, source calling on the darkness to perform a certain task. And it's like, that's not something that people really consider a lot of times. It's like a lot of times we think so dualistically, like where it's like, no, there's source and then there's the darkness, and it's like not a part. It's like it's separate. It's like, and really at the end of the day, when all the when the game is over, all the chess pieces go back in the same box, right? It's like, and so I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and that's a great way for people, if you still fear the darkness, it's important to remember that you can give that up to God or the divine. And, some people in different religions say just fear, just give your fear to God or put your fear in God. And it might sound negative or archaic, but I think what they mean is, instead of fearing the darkness and like, oh, what if this bad happens to me from dark forces?
Yeah.
Just give that to the divine and focus on being in alignment with the divine, because the divine will protect you, and it has access to protect you the more you are in alignment with it and surrender to that force. And then it doesn't matter about the darkness, because the darkness is only there for the percentage of you that's out of alignment to show you where you're out of alignment as part of the lesson. Just like a painting, you won't be able to see the full depth of the painting without the shadow, without the darkness of it. And so it's there for contrast. And so still, it doesn't mean you're letting things happen that are bad or not showing up, but it means you're staying neutral and centered. And when you're neutral, you have your full power, because you're not puppeted by outside forces, which are simply showing you where you're still not understanding a deeper lesson. So it's about being empowered, and from that place of divine empowerment, you can do anything, because you have access to the divine, which is there to fully serve and protect you on your mission, as long as you listen and remain in alignment.
Yeah, that's really the key differentiation with all of these challenges and lessons is, what we're really getting at here is how do you step into a place where you're feeling empowered as you move through it, as opposed to disempowered? Because so many people choose to take on a perspective that, is disempowering them. I'm a victim. Oh man, I'm unlucky. This bad thing happened. And that is, as creator beings, abracadabra, we create as we speak and as we perceive. And if we're perceiving it as such, then that's the experience and impact that it's going to have. And so that's why all of this is so fundamental and key to us becoming our greatest and grandest selves, right? It's taking on an empowering perspective, whatever is coming our way. So I'd like to, talk a little bit about, I know you, one of the things that you do in your own life, and, you touched on it, of course, talking about giving something up to source, but how does like the angelic realm play into that? A lot of people talk about working with angels and these sort of like emissaries of God. And, I'm curious what your thoughts are on angels.
Yeah, angels are my friends. They've supported me so much and guided me so much. Think of them like the fingers of God, and they each can play a different note or key. They can each open different doors. So it's learning, think if you're the CEO of a company and you have your chief of staff and your chief of finance, that you wouldn't ask your chief of finance to help you build a website, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like that, except if you're in alignment with the divine and you're on your mission, then you can actually give commands to angels. And this is what a lot of people are like, oh, who am I to give a command to an angel? And they put them on a pedestal, and it's respecting that they're these divine beings in so many ways more enlightened than we are. And it's like on a basketball team, it's like, they're here
pass them
waiting.
The ball. Yeah,
like,
they want that job.
With the law of free will, it's like, please, like, give me more task because I want to help the world. I want to help people. I want to help you, but you have to ask.
Yeah.
And so it's letting go of the programs of unworthiness and whatever limitations are there, and then really, praying or asking with your heart. You want to combine your heart and your mind, which creates an electromagnetic field. They've done studies on this. So it's not just about thinking something and not feeling it. It's about really doing it from that deep place of purity. And when you do that, you'll start getting incredible results. And so there's many different angels, and they can do different things. And we each have one angel, which is our guardian angel. And this has been my favorite discovery in recent years. And so many different traditions all over the world all speak about this, that we are all given one at birth. And they're there to guide us, to protect us, and take us through the levels of enlightenment. So I did a ritual to connect with mine. And I actually water fasted for 12 days.
Wow.
And worked with that and other angels from the Essene tradition from ancient times. And it purified me so deeply. Without any psychedelics, I felt like I was having a full psychedelic experience for days, where I would get visions and so many messages and showing me so many things that I still needed to align and let go of.
Yeah.
So it was extremely intense. And because I didn't have a cell phone and I was by myself in nature,
wow,
it was super intense.
So you went in nature, no phone, in 12 days water fast.
Correct.
Wow.
And I, it felt like I was barely going to make it at the end. It's kind of like the ultimate spiritual marathon, and you cross the finish line and you're just like, that was like the last step you could actually take.
Yeah.
So when that happened, my guardian angel said, I will gift you one wish. You can have whatever you want at the time of your choosing. And I was like, whoa, that's a statement.
Whoa.
But within a few seconds, I was like, well, I want true love.
Yeah.
It's just, nothing else came even close to that.
Yeah.
And, I was smart enough to ask, like, well, when do you recommend I ask for it? Because I really want to be ready.
Yeah.
But I don't want to wait too much longer.
Not blowing this.
It said 2 months.
Yeah.
And I forgot the calendar. I forgot the date, but I checked right after this happened. But exactly 2 months later, fell in love. And we both professed our love for each other.
Wow.
And it's been incredible ever since. So it happened.
Yeah.
It totally worked.
Wow.
And I think it was a gift for that effort and that purification. Of course, you don't need to do that to manifest something. I'm not trying to tell everyone to do this. It's very, you need to do it right. That was just what I was guided to do for the next level of my spiritual attainment that I was guided to take. And, working with angels is an incredible way to instantly charge things, to transform things, to receive messages about yourself, about situations. They all do different things. And in my academy and my retreats, we work with a lot of them in the more advanced techniques to rapidly just help you ascend to new heights, and all sorts of things they can do, right? It's pretty amazing. So think of it like an app. If you're instead of coding from scratch all these ideas or these activations, it's already there. Like, they have these abilities and they can instantly shine that light onto you and onto situations. And so it's as easy as just clicking a button, downloading an app, if you just know how to do it and you build relationships with them. And that's one of the favorite things I love to teach and continue to learn myself, because it just accelerates your ability to evolve, to manifest, and to awaken in incredible ways.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite the intense journey. Where did you go? Just out of curiosity, where in nature did you decide?
Well, actually, I had a tent, little hut made here, and I stayed here on the property because we have over 100 acres.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Cool. Wow. Really, really cool. So one of the things, I know you've been on such a epic journey of self-discovery and have made it such a focus to stay in that sort of magical, sorcerer frequency all these years. And so I know you've probably seen and had some really cool firsthand, experiences, story of synchronicity or serendipity or a positive paranormal story or something like that. So I'm curious if there's a particular, I just love story time. And so if there's a particular story of something that transpired that was super inspiring to you that comes up.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the most inspiring thing that happened was I was in a dark night of the soul, and I somehow manifested a really really genius level scam artist and sociopath.
Wow.
That I believe was part of my karma to clear from my limiting beliefs about myself and what I was really worth and abuse I had as a child. So that definitely helped to clear it out, but it was the most intense experience, and I really just someone just trying to destroy your life. So everything kind of crashed and burned in my life, my business, my relationships, from that. And I ended up just going to Bali, and I prayed to God, and I was like, okay, I want a quantum leap. I don't want this to take 3 years to recover from this, because it seemed like it would at the time.
Wow.
I want it to take 3 weeks. Please, just what do I do? And then all of a sudden, I was guided to take out a piece of paper and a pen, and I drew a map, like a treasure map, of my future of the next 3 weeks. And it gave me pictures and words telling me where to go, what to do on each day. And I just was like, wow, okay, I'm going to try this out. And I followed it. And every day, like, the level of synchronicity and joy and magic doubled from the previous day. Wow. And by the end of those 3 weeks, from, having my finances were destroyed, everything, my happiness, I was super depressed again from that temporarily. I was the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
I had, I manifested those billionaire clients and all these experiences. I manifested an enlightened master that started training me, just out of nowhere, that literally gave me these incredible codes, like the passions, the creations that happened, it's just so hard to put in words. It's so beyond all that.
Right.
Those are just a few of the many things that happened. I was just in a complete synchronicity gasm.
Bubble. Yeah. Synchrogasm. Yeah. I like that.
And that's how Dreamporting came about. So now I teach people how to do that. It's, remote viewing the future, your highest timeline, and being the navigation system so that you can really align with the universe. It's giving you those clues.
Yeah.
And when we listen, it's absolutely incredible what happens. So that's available on my site, and of course the retreats and
maybe it's just a good time to go into just sharing a little bit about how people can connect with you. And I know you have a retreat coming up that as I've been here visiting with you, we've talked about me even possibly coming down and being a part of that. This is all really, really fresh, so TBD, to be determined. But I'm gonna, we're talking about that as a possibility, and of course, inviting those listening who feel inspired.
We would love to have you if you're feeling inspired to join in Quantum Leap. That's going to be the weekend of March 26th, so the end of March here, and we are also we have one-on-one mentorship, whether you want to transform your life or become an incredible healer or guide yourself to the next level. And we have some courses online, so wherever you are in the world, it's possible to learn each of those universal laws, master them, and use them to learn advanced energy techniques, to do it for yourself, to others, to manifest, and to awaken your intuition and your ability to work with angels and divine consciousness for really whatever you're guided to do for your mission. It's all about just fully aligning and stepping into your destiny and having everything you need, and opening up the support by also dissolving those subconscious blocks in order to just completely align with your highest potential. And for anyone listening from Positive Head, I would love to offer a big discount for any of the offerings. So whether it's our academy, which is live classes and all my library of trainings and meditations and codes from the past, or one-on-one work or our retreat, just use code POSITIVEHEAD, the coupon code POSITIVEHEAD, just one word, and then you'll get a big discount on whatever you choose.
Awesome. I so appreciate you doing that, and I know the listeners appreciate you doing that. And yeah, I'm sure some people will want to participate in the Academy online, and others, some may be inspired. We were doing retreats, as you know, at the Mystic Manor for a while, and we haven't brought those back since COVID, but you're doing them here. And if it aligns, like I said, everyone, I'm going to look at my calendar and see if it's in alignment for me to come and maybe be a part of that. So I'll let you know on, we've still got a little while till it actually happens. But in the meantime, in the site is, what is the URL for your site again?
Yeah, it's dreamporting.com.
Dreamporting.
So DREAMPORTING, dreamporting.com.
Cool. Awesome. Very, very exciting. And yeah, man. Wow. I can't believe we already, this goes so quick
This
with
was
you.
fun. There's so much to share.
So much
We'll
to
have do
share.
another one.
I mean, as we sort of wind down here, is there anything in particular that comes up for you that, as you know, there's going to be a certain number of humans between now and the end of planet Earth that will tune into this particular frequency, this particular broadcast, because there's such a close vibrational alignment to the show and the version of the show that is me and you co-creating it. And these vibrations are going to fall on their ears and touch their hearts. And is there anything that comes up for you that you want to share specifically for those people?
Yeah, well, I'm so happy that you listened. And it's just a beautiful reminder that there's nothing special about me. We're all special. And this is just aligning with your true self. And so I'm not a guru or anyone that is more special than anyone. It's just what I'm most excited about is just sharing the codes that we're all built with. We're all built with super intuition and ability to manifest and all of that, and our own unique gifts as well. So I'd love to stay in touch. If you have any questions or want to learn more, you can also reach me on Instagram at Daniel Raphael and the number 1. So that's Daniel, RAPHAEL, and the number 1. And I'd love to stay connected and hear about you and what you're looking for. And, happy to point you in the right direction and share more resources. And it's just about believing, again, remembering who we already are. So there's nothing to fix. There's nothing even to heal. It's about really learning the lessons and awakening back to our true nature. And so it can happen like that in an instant. And so that's what I'd love to leave you with, is that remembering, that invitation to go within and remember your greatness and share that love with the world, because we all need people that are going to shine now and bring this world back into a beautiful new world of love and oneness.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Member, come back together. And this has been awesome coming back together with you, my friend. Doing it yet again.
Yeah, so good.
Who knows? Maybe another 5 years from now, we'll be levitating on our base on the moon and having
I'm going to stay on Earth, but yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll just remote view, And,
yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It was such a great time again. And thank you all for listening. So much love to you all.
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in your beautiful brains and incredible hearts. Oh, one final... my cliche closer, lest I forget. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Daniel Raphael?
Oh, the meaning of life is what you give it, because meaning is a label from true awareness. You can see that life is a school. And so whatever lessons you have, you're meant to learn and you're meant to share in your own ways. So it's following your highest inspiration and letting go of trying to give too much meaning to life, because as you surrender, it's like a lotus unfolding.
Yeah.
It's the perfect melody that you're meant to find and sing in this life. That's beyond meaning. It's the ultimate beauty. It's the ultimate gift that is life.
Yeah. Love that answer. What came to mind when you were saying it was like, when I think of a school, is like, as you graduate from kindergarten to first grade, second grade, by the time you get more and more freedoms and more like sort of like complex and interesting from one perspective experiences, right? What is the senior in college experiencing versus the kindergartner, right? And there's like, they've just expanded, their awareness has expanded, their abilities have expanded, and that's really, if you think of it in those terms, as you're just working through these grades to get more expansive.
I love that.
That's exciting.
More access, more clearance as you advance to more freedom.
Yeah.
So enjoy that. We invite you to be more free in each moment, and would love to dance with you in this freedom and share more.
Yeah, come to Daniel's retreat, and I'll keep you guys posted if I'm going to be able to make it through as well.
Awesome.
And I'll put the link, of course, down below to connect with all his magical offerings. And thank you yet again for tuning in. Love you all so much. Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can find the book and unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.